Hello and welcome back. This is going to be the beginning of the 11th day of the stream, and also technically, I suppose, the beginning of the new highlight video. We got the to-do list down to 24 things. I think in this part we're going to try to run up to at least the Research Center Varox here, so we can do side pack 1 using automated construction stuff. Got a crude list of, I think, everything we need for 0.5 items per second production of Varox. You can see I'm going to need a lot more sap extractors and a lot more sap trees. As well as, but it's more seaweed. Oh, so there's no trees in here. It's just sap trees, seaweed, and moss. But we need more of that stuff going. So we got to get the basics down. Now, if you're watching in the YouTube highlights, we'll jump until I have a few more bits on the bus here extended, and the bus is going to get longer. I think it's time to start doing a short bit of build review for YouTube. So if future editor me does the editing jump for the highlights correctly, welcome back, YouTube highlights. On the bus, we've gone ahead and assembled a bunch of things. We don't necessarily have enough resources to feed them properly, but they're assembled here on the bus. Starting off, we've gone ahead and added the data array automated. We only got it making one stack of that. We got data array on that, so we can check that off the to-do list. In addition to that, I added splitters, so I can now get splitters, assuming we don't have small parts to make splitters. Yeah, probably two stacks of splitters is probably fine. Same sort of logic for electronic miners. From the to-do list, we've added Varrock paddocks. I can check that off. The slaughterhouse, so we can check that off. And the research center. Check that off. And now I need to go spend some time boosting the efficacy of the bus, mainly by increasing the production of various resources. The moment we don't have basically the top 5 here are made in limited quantities in the base, but are not being shipped to the bus. Either because they're all being used by the chip shooter to make circuit boards, or because I just haven't busted them yet. Like, I think we have like one smelter making duraluminum. What's actually showing up here is stuff we've brought up in boxes, brought up in the car before, but we'll be working for the next bit here, expanding probably the fluid mining drills. So if you're watching on YouTube in the highlights, we'll be probably back with one of the fluid mining drill setups being completed. Okay, if future editor me does his job well, here we are for the build review of the aluminum and duraluminum system. So, got the miners as they are. At some point I'll have to go move the belts up there, the coal belts up there out of the way. But we got the aluminum patch that is exposed out in mining, making aluminum, being smelted in some old stone furnaces here to make the aluminum plate. And a portion of that aluminum plate goes to making duraluminum over here, and then the remaining aluminum and the duraluminum goes up towards the bus. We basically have less than a half a belt going up there of each, so I'm running them up the same belt to save on belts going up there. So if you're watching that on YouTube, that's the highlight of the little bit of build that we did here. I'm going to go back to improving the fluid drills. I think I've got one more to go, one more area to go, so catch you when that one's done. First antimony oxide, made by this horrible setup, but hopefully we'll have more in the future. Nickel plate made 75 hours in. Yep. 75 hours and 2 minutes in, we get first intermetallic. Not enough to build anything, but start. And 78 and 12 minutes in, we got our first oil burner handcrafted using the intermetallics coming in. For those who are watching the YouTube highlights, that means I've just about got 20 intermetallics, so we're building a second one here. And I suppose if you're watching the highlights, this is going to be probably the last highlight of day 11 before I bring the stream to a close. I'm trying to find a good place right now where I can put the oil burners in to burn the otherwise waste tar and coal gas, because apparently I am actively wasting them. So being able to make some steam off of them is not going to be the end of the world. Yep. So I think that is going to be, yeah, I think this is, if I do remember to highlight this as a second bit, here is a highlight for YouTube. This is definitely not a full setup. This is kind of the plan with overflow, extra gases and petrochemicals and stuff, is to oil burn them so we get some steam so we can use steam for other things, including doing more petrochem stuff with them, right? Because self-referential. One of the main things we use steam for is doing stuff with our tar. So tar gets steamed into various things. So the leftover extra tar and the leftover extra coal gas, and I'm probably going to keep adding more as we go along. Same as we're here. We're going to add more in here. And in fact, I'm equipped to do all 16 liquids. I haven't done that yet, and I should probably do that. But that's not going to be today. Today it's time for it to end. So if you're watching on YouTube, I think the highlight probably just ended. I'm probably not going to go into this bit for the highlight. Hello and welcome YouTube highlights. So this is the beginning of day, I think, 12. And the last one we started, I basically got distracted a little bit by petrochem and improving the drills, because the drills we worked out need many more refiners for their input components to get them mining as much as I want. And we're going to get back to that. So if you're watching this on YouTube highlights, expect the next part to maybe be some more of the petrochem. And if you're watching on Twitch, you gotta be along for the ride with me. So let's get to it. Okay, and if Editor Me has done a good job of editing this bit out for the highlights, we're going to do a little bit of build review here. So the last time we were reviewing the tar processing, we effectively, or the coal processing, however you want to think about it, we'd made coal gas and tar, and over there had a couple tanks, a couple fluid burners converting some of the surplus into steam. Since then I've upscaled tar refining bottoms and tar refining tops to run using all the currently produced tar, technically scaled to the produced tar, so it's not too big, not too small. I think I technically rounded down, so it should technically be very slightly too small, but that was after rounding up the production of coal gas being, or tar being produced down there, so take that to grain of salt. And obviously added all the tanks and buffers so that we have access to all these oils if we need them later. Although technically middle is scaled so that the middle that we make in the bottoms get used up in the tops to make the top ingredients. So this provides us with more light oil and more of the stuff we make into creosote and leave acetylene were the three things that we use this for. If I can show that quickly. So here's aromatics. So the light oil gets converted into aromatics. That's my one source of aromatics for the moment. And then acetylene. Oh, I suppose the acetylene is technically made out of coke. So I'll have to scale up coke, although this is probably not going to show how I'm going to scale up coke. The way we're going to scale up coke is converting the pitch into coke. So if you're watching on the build review, we'll be back in a moment when I'm up top reviewing the shale oil refining. Okay. If Editor Me once again has succeeded again. Here is my shale oil refiner. While doing the math earlier, I realized that the ratio of the reformers here to the retorters, which we got over here, is 3 to 2. So there's 3 over there, or there's 6 over there, so we've got 4 over here. This makes condensates, heavies, and then the lights go down into the previous setup for other uses down there. Storage down there. So that is shale oil storage and production. And I've converted everything that was burning shale oil over to burning condensates and heavy oils, and we still have surplus on both of those, so presumably I'm just not burning enough, which is a good place to be. So with that, that's going to be the end of this highlight, and we're watching on YouTube on the highlights bit. We'll jump to the next highlight, which I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. First crushed coal, 84 hours and 22 minutes in. Made because I wanted the coal for a recipe, not because I wanted the crushed coal. Crushed coal is, well, I suppose you're doing what you do in order to crush coal, which is you burn it for fuel. So I suppose if Editor Me has done a good job, this is a highlight. This is probably actually going to be the last highlight of this stream day, if you're watching this on YouTube. Where we're working on getting Pie Pack 1 here, and of course we just made some crushed coal. But I think this is going to be the last stream highlight from day 12. I think it's about time to wind the stream down. We're basically just seeing if the crushed coal system here screws up the balance, and I don't think it will, but it might. So the plan here is that basically the extra fuel gets burnt in the boilers over here. So everything works as long as I have enough steam to man the place, which might itself be a different problem. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube in the highlights, the next highlight should probably be from tomorrow's day 13 part, because I don't think I've made enough highlights yet that we're going to have an independent highlight end of the video yet. So catch you all in the next highlight, which is the next day. Hello and welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in our Factorio Pyanodons mod run. This is, for YouTube, is going to be the start of the 13th day in the highlights, as we start to work through trying to get the Pyanodons Pack 1 here, 5-pack Ron going. So, if you're watching the highlights, we'll be jumping to presumably more of the setup assembled. Oh, and there we go. So that is the first caravan. That was what I was trying to check to see if that was a milestone, and that is in fact a milestone. So we got our first caravan here at 88 hours and 49 minutes. Probably could have been done sooner, but I wasn't trying to rush it. I'm trying to get it done to go hand in hand with automated meat production, so it has its brains. So if you're watching this on YouTube, that should be a highlight. And with that, it's live. So SciPack 1 is, or SciPack Science Pack 1 is now alive. Twitch chat saying, where is the place you put the wood into? Wood into what? I'm going to do a build review, so we'll go over the whole thing here. Ayaku saying, set up a manure at scale is pain, can't even fire them in a city block, needs 2 for 15 seconds without food recipe. Yeah, it's got to be pretty big. A lot of the bio stuff is big in here. But yeah, we now have SciPack 1, in theory, running at speed. So if this is running correctly, and it might take a while to properly fill up, this should now be running at a whole 0.5 SciPack 2 a second. I think we need to work up some glassware for that to actually happen, but that's now working. So we've got the glassware maker here. Glassware maker is, or not the research center here, which takes in glassware and basic substrate. The glassware takes in rubber stoppers and molten glass. The rubber stoppers come from over here, which obviously are being produced at an appropriate rate. Yeah, well, that's going to be what's holding up. I'm going to have to check out the molten glass. We probably don't have enough molten glass being made. The rubber stoppers come from over here, assembled by these two out of latex and coal. The coal gets made from these crushed coal, gets crushed here in the secondary crushers from raw coal, with the byproducts being sent through either to fuel the burner assemblers or into the boilers here just to get consumed. With a filter bias so that any of the coal goes into the recipe that needs it and the rest gets pushed through to be spent as burnt. The rubber stoppers use latex. Latex comes from over here. This uses steam. We do have steam on tap in this base. And we have latex slabs, which comes from down over here, which uses creamy latex, sodium alginate, and formic acid. Go through the formic acid first. The formic acid comes from rendering the Varrox, which has this little bit of... The output gets kicked out here. The meat gets sent over to the caravans. We did make caravans a little bit earlier, although they're not really doing anything yet. The cages get sent back over here to cage Varrox up because the butchery slaughterhouses do not want uncaged Varrox. And I might need to put a few more cages in here to get this running properly. Although I suspect it's still the... Yeah, I'm gonna put a few more cages in here because I didn't bias the inserters correctly. Yeah, so we got that happening over there, which is giving us importantly, the formic acid. Latex slabs also need creamy latex. The creamy latex is plumbed over from here, way down here, where it is sap plus limestone plus water makes creamy latex. So, it's got a sushi belt of limestone going there to feed the washers, and then we're pulling sap off the sap maker line to make the creamy latex. Twitch chat's reminding me that probably not enough molten glass is the norm. Yeah, it's either not enough molten glass or it's not enough fuel to fuel the molten glass makers. Let's just say it's one of those two. What's probably happening right now. It's just like up there with small parts being an issue. The latex slab is also taking sodium alginate, which is made up here out of seaweed, limestone, stone, and water. The limestone being made over there, and stone we're using elsewhere in the base, so we pipe that over here, or belt that over here, and then you can see the seaweed makers. They come from over there, running past the algae, or the agar makers. We'll get around to them, describing how that fits in later. And then, obviously, we probably want to say where the Varrox come from, so we know they get slaughtered over here. They feed in from here to this massive breeding paddock facility where we convert cocoons into Varrox, as well as native fauna and moss. We'll get to where the moss comes earlier. It's a different portion of this build, but it's belted around to feed multiple different things. Including feeding these reproductive complexes, which again use native fauna and the moss, and we've got barreled water. We got a cycle for the water going around, and sap. They make the cocoons that feed the paddocks. This is the water barreler, which I actually have more barrels to put in, so let's show more barrels in it. It puts water in barrels, which then gets fed into the reproductive complexes, and the overflow gets fed into the Varrox paddocks. In theory, there should be more than enough being made, assuming I have enough barrels in the system. That provides the water for these two. When both of those processes finish, they output empty barrels, which then get fed back around, back into the barrel maker, or the barreler, to barrel for more water. That's the Varrox into this build. This time, it's now go down the other path, which is basic substrate. So the basic substrate is made out of cellulose, incubated petri dishes, and moss. Here you can see the moss setup. I think the moss setup scaled the right size. Might be 4 small. Or 4 units too small. Not 100% sure. Yeah, we got the moss up there. From the left over here, we have the incubated petri dishes, which are fed with the agar. And well, incubating them is just petri dishes, which is agar plus the empty petri dishes, which is one of the reasons why we might be low on glass. The agar is, once again, steam plus seaweed, which comes up from this seaweed maker over here. Big long row. Up here we also have the dirt and the muddy sludge to feed into the moss setup. Surprised I'm not having CO2 problems, although that may be because this hasn't spun up at full speed yet. Probably because of the glass problems. I'm probably not having CO2 problems because we're having glass problems instead. But the muddy sludge should be enough to feed this setup for all the moss farms. And then the cellulose comes from down here, where we're combining sodium hydroxide and wood in 3 biofactories to make cellulose. The sodium hydroxide comes from saltwater electrolysis. We've got a whole bunch of stone plus water being converted into saline water. Feed the saltwater electrolysis. Right now I'm being incredibly lazy, and the oxygen in the CO, or the chlorine in the hydrogen, chlorine hydrogen, no oxygen here. Chlorine, the hydrogen is just being vented to the atmosphere. The hydrogen I probably have other uses for right now, so I probably shouldn't be doing with the hydrogen, but we are. And of course that setup requires wood, which comes from this fastwood forestry wood processing unit combo with some nurseries over here. Which of course requires moss and water, and one of these guys... Oh, that one specifically is missing a pipe. That one's fixed. But yeah, so that's the setup. That's the massive setup. All to make half a SciPac 1 a second, assuming there's enough molten glass. And yeah, looks like it's molten glass being the issue. So probably the early next stream, I will need to go make more molten glass. Or at least figure out what the problem with molten glass is, whether it's production or fuel. It's one of those two. I'm either not feeding the melters enough fuel, liquid fuel, or it's not enough in general. Yep, that's running, and then the science comes out here, runs up here, all the way over to here, gets added on to the belt that has the automation science, and fed into the labs here. And when that's properly running, because I have enough glass, I probably don't have enough labs. So the next thing to fix will actually be adding more labs. And that is the build review. So if you're watching this on the highlights reel for YouTube, that's probably going to be the last highlight from this day, which is day 13. Because it is actually about 4:30 a.m. in the morning, so it's about time I bring the stream to a close. But yeah, I think the run is coming along well. We've got SciPac 1 now automated. I now need to troubleshoot the feeding, which I think is mostly going to be glass, and I brought up CO2 earlier. I think if the moss farms are running at full speed, I have a CO2 issue. But that's easy to fix. I just convert more coke to CO2, and probably more pitch to coke is probably how that's going to work out. And that might be the solution also to sorting with the glass, is I just got to feed some more fuel down there, or build some more glass works to consume more fuel. One of those two. But yeah, so if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll see how long the highlights are at the end of this part. If this is the end of the highlights, I wish you all the best of luck, a good time. We'll probably have another highlights up when that's made. If it isn't, say hello to day 14, because that'll be the next highlights if you're watching the highlights video. And welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in Factorio Pyanodons. If you're watching this in the highlight stream, this is the beginning of the 14th day, where I think we're going to spend at least the opening part of this day diagnosing why we don't have enough glass. I think it's a glass problem we're having. Yeah, I think it's a glass problem we're having. So we'll pop back in with the next highlight, presumably with whatever I've done for the glass setup. Hi guys, 606 is saying, I'm making stone bricks now from just dirt, water, fuel, and electricity. Good luck on the glass. Well, good luck on your stone brick production. I know there's lots of different ways to make stone bricks. And we just got crushed quartz at 90 hours and 5 minutes into the run. So that'll be a short highlight if you're watching this on YouTube. Okay, so future editor me does a good job at splicing in this edit. We're going to do a quick build review of the improved quartz to molten glass mine we've got going here. So, worked out to fill up an entire belt of quartz. I need about 16 miners, quartz mines. Actually, technically it's 15 before you try to do any balancing. We slightly overbuilt here to fill the belt up. But this is just sort of future-proofs it. So as the back end here runs out, we'll sort of work top to bottom through the mine here. This gets belted over to a bunch of crushers. So to eat the entire belt, we just need 3 crushers to crush the quartz. And then the crushed product, if it's not backed up and something has screwed up and backed it up. Okay, I'll have to resolve that in a moment. If it's not backed up with stone, it flows up in here into the glassworks, which provides all the molten glass I need to do science, which may come to a grinding halt because the stone's backed up. I'll have to do a better outflow solution for the stone here in a moment. But yeah, if you're watching any YouTube highlights, that's the molten glass setup. I think it's multiple times faster than the old one. The old recipe put out 25 for the same amount of quartz going into it. The new recipe outputs 45 if I can deal with the stone, which is what we're going to go do with now. Say... Nope. I suppose if you're watching on YouTube, spoilers for probably what the next real big highlight's going to be, but we've made our first hot air at 93 hours and 41 minutes. Yeah, you probably got some spoilers for what the next big build is going to be. First, borax. 95 hours and 15 minutes. It was 16 minutes in. And I guess borax has multiple different looks to it. Okay. Yeah, watching in the highlights, that's we're working towards getting that cast iron, I suppose. So borax is required for that. Catch you in the next one. Okay. Thinking if editor me has done his job, that we're at a point for a build review. So you may have had a couple spoilers here over the last couple of YouTube highlights, but most of the stream, I've been working on implementing cast iron plate. So the setup is running correctly. This should be producing just enough cast iron plate to fill up this entire belt, which is why we haven't been loading into depot, because I didn't necessarily know when else would unload both sides of the belt. So I just put it into a depot, and then we're unloading the depot into the belt. We can probably go with a small depot. There's a smaller storage container, but we're using depot. So we got the casting unit. The casting unit is fed with sand and borax, molten iron, and hot air. So here's the hot air system. You might think, why is he doing a build review? The build obviously isn't done. The answer is the build is done. The build is actually designed to be expandable to do 4 belts of output. But the first build out here is only 1 belt, so it is done as it needs to be for 1 belt. So we got 1 casting unit, it shouldn't actually be running at full speed. It only needs to run at 8% speed. We've got one regenerative heater, which needs to run at like 1/10 speed. And we got 2 regenerative heaters here that generate the hot item to make the hot air. And I only need 2 of them. When we're all the way up to 4, we actually need all of these. Yeah, there's a little bit of rounding, but it'll work out. But yeah, we'll need all of these when we get all 4 of them in. So that's the hot air being made, which is one of the 4 imports of the iron plate. Up here we have a caravan delivering borax, so we'll go review the borax portion of the build in a moment. And then around here, we also have, I'll walk over to it, the sand castings. The sand castings take in a little bit of stone that gets converted into sand, or into gravel, into sand. Sand plus creosote equals sand castings. So that's 2 of the 4 inputs here to making the cast iron. And yeah, so if you're watching the highlights, this part of the build review for this location. I actually have to do quite a bit of walking through the next bit, so see you in the next bit. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, or watching live on Twitch, I'm going to do a build review, and then we're probably going to start thinking about bringing it to a close. So if you've got any comments to leave, now's a good time to leave them. And yeah, we'll queue up the last of the site pack 1 and logistics pack. Automation pack? Automation pack combo, because logistics science is the next one now. Okay, if Editor Me has done his job again, we're arriving at another portion of that build-out. So, you noticed previously that it presumably took molten iron. So this is where we make our molten irons. We mine iron, and you might remember this is one of the older iron mines. We've upgraded to electric mining drills to feed the jaw crushers. The jaw crushers to feed the basic oxygen furnace. And this makes molten iron out of borax, and the process iron ore that comes out of the crushers, and oxygen. The borax comes over from that caravan station, so you will see that in a little bit. I can, with a short walk over here, show you the oxygen setup. The oxygen setup is not that inspired. It's water in and split into hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen works its way over there, and then the hydrogen works its way over to some fuel tanks that, well, at the moment I think have set up to overflow into a outlet pipe. We'll do stuff with hydrogen later for a fuel source, but a lot of electrolyzers running, which, as you can see, means the electric grid is not quite handling the electric demand of the base. I think tomorrow we're going to be working, the next stream we're going to be working on building power plants. Spoilers as far as the technology is going. We're on the last science pack I can do with the 2 science packs we've automated. So it's going to be power next stream, and then probably developing a way to make all the components to the side pack. So if you're watching on the YouTube highlights, we're going to have one more highlight from today's stream, which is where I'm going to go review the borax extraction. Okay, Reptid998 saying, okay, leaving my comments now to say your stream has insufficient rabbits. Does SciPack have rabbits? That's, or does Pyanodons mod have rabbits? That's a good question. If it does have rabbits, they're probably coming up. But yes, this stream has no rabbits, it just has rocks. It's a Factorio stream. And I don't know if this mod has rabbits. I don't think that is an alien type it has. Okay, if Editor Me has brought you into the build review, you might notice that we are at the place where I'm mining our raw borax. We are washing it here. Again, maybe not being the most efficient. We're just dumping the dirty water down a sinkhole. And then this is the other end of the caravan outpost where the caravan comes, picks up the borax, and drops it off at the other caravan. Much like the molten iron setup, where it's designed to be expandable up to 4 lanes, I have designed this crystal mine area for mining the borax to be doubled up here. And that way it can support the smelting at a different iron mine as well. But this is how it is. So if you're watching on YouTube, in the highlights video, this is probably going to be the last highlight of this stream and of the last 4 days. So we've got, I think during the highlights, we got SciPack 1 automated. We've just got into casting iron. We've researched during this part power plants, so that's probably what we're going to be developing in the next stream, which will be in the next highlights video. And yeah, we worked through a bunch of technology, so getting there was a period there where we were running 30 science per minute, which helped us fly through the tech tree. And, oh, I improved the glass setup. We've moved on to the most modern glass recipe, so I'm able to get a lot more molten glass, and I don't think that's a bottleneck on anything anymore. And yeah, the base is coming along. I'll have to find a use for hydrogen. We're kind of wasting a bunch of hydrogen, but the base has come along. Yeah, I think I'll resist building out the rest of this, at least until I've sorted the power plants, because we don't have enough power. So I think I'm going to resist building out more of this until we got the power plants in, and maybe until we've sorted out actually doing logistics science packs. So with that, I suppose I'll actually go over the schedule, because people watching the highlight stream may be interested in the schedule as well. So if you're watching on Twitch, why is the module not loading? I lost internet access? No, I still have internet access. There we go. The upcoming Twitch schedule, so if you're watching this in the highlights video, as soon as I get the highlights edited, I'll post them, so you'll be off a couple days, but it should be stuff that you're either watching over the next couple days or would be available over already. So today was Factorio Pyanodons, tomorrow is going to be Shadow Empire, Saturday is going to be Frostpunk 2, or Saturday is not going to be Frostpunk 2 because we finished Frostpunk 2. Friday is Shadow Empire, Saturday is going to be Solar Expanse, Sunday is going to be Solar Nations 2, and then we'll be back around to Factorio on Monday. And then that 4-day cycle will repeat until either Solar Nations 2 is done or Solar Expanse is done. Shadow Empire and Factorio Pyanodons mods are long enough games that they're probably not going to end anytime soon. So that's the upcoming schedule. I hope everyone has been enjoying, whether you're watching it live on the Twitch, or watching it live, or watching when it gets posted in the highlight stream, or watching the unedited version. Reptid998 is saying the closest thing it has is the mouse bait cotton guts to rabbits in the game, because he was bringing up my stream does not have enough rabbits. Well, we'll have to work towards getting some cotton guts in the future. I'm not sure if that was one of the recent ones we researched. It was. Yeah, so we'll have to work towards some cotton guts. Presumably that is required for making my logistics science here. We need batteries, animal samples, poor animal samples, and solidified sarcosis. So we'll have to figure out how to do that in the next one. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring the save in here. And yeah, this is the end of day 14, even though the save says 17. A couple days we've had multi-parts on, so we've had multiple saves a couple days. So I'm going to wish everyone the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part and or stream, and bye for now.